So this year we grew better basil than I've ever grown in the greenhouse. I'm really excited about it. Basil can be a weird one. I find when it does well, it really thrives and grows really fast. But if it's not happy, it is just pathetic. What I found this year is deep weekly watering, trimming off the tops, having a better temperature regulation, and then also waiting a little while before we put the plants outside and growing healthy transplants.
And stick around till the end of this video and I'll show you how we actually transplant into the garden and some tips for how to do that.
So a couple things that we did that really worked. I grew a lot of basil from seed and I got it till the 3 to 4 leaf stage before I put it in here, and I waited until it was really warm so it would be okay. Basil will be all right in temperatures as low as 10 degrees Celsius, but they really grow and flourish in like the 20 to 28 range. So that's like good, nice, full-on summer. So I waited until the temperatures were nice and warm and the soil was nice and warm before I put them in here. And another thing that we did is we have some drip irrigation underground. So we made sure to water it really well. Basil likes to be watered really deeply, so I found watering it really deeply, like about once a week, really made a difference. And then we used a hose in between to water as well. And that was another thing that made a big difference. So watering. Another way that we regulated the temperature that I think made probably the biggest difference is this year we rolled up the sides of the greenhouse. So in past years, we've just left them down and tried to get it like warmer in here, but really it gets super hot in the summer, and you really want some airflow to keep the fungal diseases away. You really want some regulation of temperature. So we ended up opening them up just about 2 feet off the ground. We just rolled up the plastic and put it in place with a couple screws that we'll take off shortly. And that really made a big difference. Another thing that we did is we harvested it a lot. So you can see it's going to flower now. But we did not let it go to flower all summer. We would just pick off the tops and then let it get really bushy. So that made a big difference as well in terms of the health. Instead of having some spindly plants that get tall, we focused on having really nice big bushy plants, and they got to be a pretty good height. This was like lots and lots to make pestos with, to dry a certain amount, to use fresh. We were eating a lot of basil all summer and all fall. Like right now it's the 21st of October. We're past our last frost date, but we haven't had a frost yet. We had a couple cold nights this week, and you can see basil is really not frost hardy. So these little stems, they just died right back. But overall, it's still great. But I'm going to take it out today because we're getting a couple more cold nights soon. And when the days are colder and shorter, it's not going to grow as fast. So we're kind of like at its peak probably of leaf production. And like I said, it's flowering and trying to set seed right now. So I'm just going to let it be finished.
I find that it's so satisfying just to finish the season with a crop that produced really well and went really well in your garden, and then just to harvest it all and have it be done and then ready for next year.
So I'm going to transplant some basil seedlings. Basil is probably one of the best herbs you can grow in the garden. It's so delicious. It's so easy to use fresh. I've grown transplants in soil blocks, and I found that they germinated pretty unevenly. So I have some plants that got big enough that I cut some branches off of them, and then other ones took a little bit longer, so they're quite small. So I often will also buy transplants of basil at the garden center or from farmers because they always look really great. And these ones are, I'd say, pretty good. They're a good size. It's tempting to buy transplants that are like super giant, but it'll go easier in your garden and you'll get sort of better overall growth if you buy them when they're a little bit smaller. These have nice, good root systems. You can tell from the soil blocks, and they've been well watered today, which is good. So they're nice and moist and ready to go in the ground. So I'm going to put a little bit of bone meal in the hole that has some phosphorus in it. So that's just going to give the roots a little bit of a boost. Also some nitrogen. So there's one. And I don't have to plant them very deep. I want to plant them about where they were in the soil pot. So not much higher than that. But they will root a little bit on the stem if you bury them a little bit deeper. So let's see, just something like that. And I'm gonna plant them sort of like, I'd say that's like 8 inches apart in a square. I always get a trowel and then I end up using my hand to dig. I don't know why. Another reason I want to plant the basil plants here is because I want to keep an eye on them. So this is like right at the greenhouse door where I come in and I look at them. So this way I can keep them fertilized, I can keep them well watered, I can harvest them. You can also really control the shape of basil. So you can make it bushy or you can make it tall and skinny. So I'll harvest it as I go. Whoa, and you can see some of these roots got really long. So I'll just give that a little bit of a longer space. You don't want to crowd the roots when you put them in the ground. This one's got a nice healthy root system as well. And then a super important next step is watering everything. So all the plants that go in the ground, they want to get watered right away. I'm going to give them a nice watering just to make sure that the soil is saturated, that they have enough water to grow, that the roots don't dry out in their new home.